Hey, Silent Source, it's your friend Jeff Henderson, and here we are at the conclusion of our very first series. And let me say again how honored I am that Michelle and the team would invite me to be a part of encouraging you and hopefully developing the business leader within you and the leader within you. I'm going to try to help provide some hopefully helpful content for you, but then your end of the bargain is that you're going to take and actually do the homework assignment. So I have a homework assignment for you that I think can be very, very helpful. But it's all based on the bottom line of this particular part of this series. And this bottom line is simply this: how you view life determines how you do life. Let me say that again. And you know it must be true because it rhymes. How you view life determines how you do life. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, we all have a tendency to look at circumstances, and wouldn't you know that and this is so true for all of us, that you could take the same two people that look at the same exact situation. It's the same thing, same set of circumstances, and yet how they view it makes all of the difference in the world. And how you view market conditions, how you view the potential or challenges, the ups and downs. It's amazing to me how business leaders, who I have, by the way, I have immense respect for business leaders like you. Immense respect for business leaders like you. And I have such respect for you because business leaders can look at really challenging situations. Entrepreneurs can look at really challenging situations and see the good of what can be. In fact, that's what entrepreneurs do, by the way. They look at problems and they solve problems for their customers. I love that. But you got to have people that look at sometimes some challenging situations and see what could be. We said in part two, there's a word for that. It's called possibility, right? So how you view life determines how you do life. So you can take two people looking at a challenging situation and come to diametrically opposed solutions. If you want to grow your business this year, this quarter, the next month, if you want to grow your business moving forward, if you want to grow your life, you and I are going to have possibility viewpoints in life. Now, this isn't just true for human beings, it's true for animals. In fact, this happens with dogs and cats. By the way, dogs look at their owners and say, "You feed me, you pet me, you shelter me, you love me, you must be God." Cats look at their owners and say, "You feed me, you pet me, you shelter me, you love me, I must be God," right? That's the difference between cats and dogs. Right? Same exact situation, diametrically opposed conclusions. What I want you to do is to be able to be a business leader that no matter what life throws your way, in the challenging situations, you can look at it and go, even this, I can figure out a way. Even in this, I can find a way. Because there's always a way. There always has been. There always will be. But it all comes down to whether or not you can see it, right? And when you do that, the way that you have to do this is you have to fight to remain inspired. You have to fight to remain inspired. You can't just walk into unexpected in life and allow the world around you to cut your legs out from under you, because that's going to happen. By the way, it's happened to me. It's going to happen to you. More of that is coming. But what great entrepreneurs, what great people do, come on, is they pick themselves up and they keep going because they have a viewpoint in life that no matter what happens, I'm going to keep moving forward. Somewhere, I don't know how this works, your home office, your car, something. I want you to put something, a picture of something that reminds you of where you are heading, a victory. Maybe it's from the past. Maybe it's a victory going forward, but you view this on a consistent basis. What do I mean by that? Well, let me close with this story because this is something, I'm never going to ask you to do something that I'm not already doing or trying to do myself, right? I mean, like you, I've got dreams for my business. I've got dreams for my life. I've got a viewpoint in my life. And like you, I've certainly had my challenges. I mean, I could turn this into a counseling session right now if you wanted me to, right? And pay you nothing just to hear all my problems, all right? But like that, I've got to have a view of a vision of a preferred future. Where am I heading? Well, one of the things that happened in my past, which fuels my future, is something that happened to my family and me. And I alluded to this in part three when we're talking about plus one, remember that? And I asked you to ask big. Well, a couple of years ago, my daughter graduated from high school, and I said, "Honey, let's go celebrate somewhere." And she said, well, Dad, I'd love to go out to San Francisco. I thought, that's great. And then I remembered that Pixar, the movie studios, were out near San Francisco. And my kids grew up watching Finding Nemo and Toy Story and all of that. In fact, I think I heard Finding Nemo 10 times before I even watched it because they were watching it in the back when we were driving around. By the way, my wife, Wendy, and I said we would never let our kids watch television. Then we had kids that they watched television all the time. So that's another story, not great parenting advice. So I remember I met Ed Catmull, the president of Pixar, a few years ago. So I decided to write him a note and say, can my daughter and my family come out and can we get a private tour of Pixar? I said, I know you won't remember me. So I had the picture that he and I had gotten together. And I said, I know you won't remember this, but here's our picture, hashtag, does this sound like a stalker? Here's my phone number, right? And so I wrote this letter. So about 5 months later, I get a call from Oakland, California. I don't know anybody from Oakland, California. So I hit decline. But later that night, I listened to a voicemail and it said, Mr. Henderson, this is Wendy from Ed Catmull's office. We got your letter and we would love to give you a private tour of Pixar. So, just imagine this. So we drive up to Pixar. This is like 2 months later. We drive up to the iconic gates at Pixar, right? And it's the gates actually Steve Jobs designed. He bought Pixar back in the day. And how historic is that? So we pull up to the gate, right? And if this doesn't work, if they don't know who I am, my kids will never let me hear the end of this, right? So I roll down the window and actually didn't do this. That's back in the 70s. They actually have a button now. And the security guard didn't look too nice. And I'm like, oh no. And I said, hello, we're the Hendersons from Swanee, Georgia, here for our tour. And he didn't smile for a moment. And then he smiled and he said, well, hello, Hendersons from Swanee, Georgia. We're so glad you're here. They gave us these little badges that said strangers from the outside. I love that. We got a tour. We actually got to go up to see where Steve Jobs' office was before he passed away. They still have it, the way he left it. They bought us lunch. They bought us lunch, people. But as we were heading out, my daughter pulls me aside and she says, Dad, this is so cool. Well, solid source. I stopped being cool to my daughter 10 years ago, or maybe a lot longer than that. Don't ask her. And I remember thinking, if I had talked myself out of it, if I'd thought, they'll never reply, they'll never even get this letter, I would have talked myself out of that memory. So why do I tell you that story? Well, I tell you that story because how you view life determines how you do life. I took a picture before we left. I had Pixar. I said, hey, can you do one last thing for me? And you'll never hear from me again. Can we get a picture outside behind their iconic little, lantern thing they have? And they took this picture. That picture's at my home office. And I view that picture as a reminder to me that I have got to get up if life pushes me down. And that picture, and there's a postcard from Pixar on my desk as well. That postcard reminds me to keep moving forward. Thanks for letting me do this for the very first series. This is part 4 of this series. Can't wait for you to be back together with me as we do our second series together. And I'm so honored to be on this journey with you as we together grow. We grow our businesses, we grow ourselves personally, and we go help make the world a better place. I'll see you soon.